Hey everyone, welcome back to the Risen Entrepreneur Podcast. I am your host, Annie Goodbutt, and I'm really excited to be talking to you today about reflection. We are coming to the end of 2021, right? And part of, ending this year, often we get so busy buying Christmas presents and putting together celebrations that and we're strategizing and thinking about our business in the next year that we forget to kind of stop for a moment, stop and reflect on our personal lives, stop and reflect on our business, stop and reflect on our spiritual journey as well, right? And it is all too common. If you are an entrepreneur, your head is already like a mile away. You're already thinking about all the things that you can do better next year, that you want to try out next year, that things that you want to try out. But I want you to just stop with me for a second, and we're going to reflect. And today I actually want to share with you a few of my reflections from our conference that we just had. We just had the Risen Messenger conference, which was really cool. We had it at the end of November into the beginning of December. But I wanted to share a few lessons that I've learned doing this conference, because part of the Risen Entrepreneur is that I want to share with you the journey that I am on, putting or building up a business and growing it to the glory of God, right? So part of me sharing my journey is also sharing, failures and things that didn't work out the way I was hoping. And this conference, I'm going to start off with a few things that didn't really work or I kind of messed up on. Okay, so it was too complicated, right? I had so many things in my mind that I wanted to do with this conference and people. I had a whole bunch of speakers, almost 40 speakers, and I wanted to do both live and recorded, and got other speakers to record their recordings and interviews and all this stuff. So there was just so many different options that I had in the conference as I put it together. And I put together conferences and summits before. So I'm not a newbie in this. I guess for some reason I thought, you know what, let's just kind of put it all together and see. And I like making cool experiences. I like making events. But in retrospect, I made it way too complicated. There was too many things for me to deal with. And have you ever moved? Have you ever moved from one house to another? Okay, so I also have this tendency to, pack up all the boxes. And then there's all these little bits at the end, right? One thing here, forgot that. And we often think we've moved so many times as a family. So I know this from experience. I should actually learn better, shouldn't I? That, we'll have boxes all stacked in the corner. We're all ready to go. Except for all of the extra little things that you think are only going to take, a few minutes of your time. But they actually take the longest because you're thinking, okay, what should I do with this piece? And it doesn't go here, it doesn't fit here, and it's not really in a box, so I can't easily store it or put it into the truck. And so you find you're actually spending all your time really focused on all these little bits. Well, this is what happens when you make things complicated. Like in an event like this, our conference, there was kind of too many moving pieces, I guess you could say. Just in regards of me not just doing everything flat out recorded, not just doing everything live, I kind of mixed it up, which made it more complicated. And in the midst of the conference, one of my VAs had to quit on me. So I was like, oh, normally it would work a little bit better if I had someone with me to help with all those those little bits that need to be fixed, but she was unable to work anymore, so I found myself scrambling to, do everything. And so I got kind of tired, and there was just, it just ended up being a lot more exhausting. So by the time we came to the event, it was really good. You need to have energy, right? And if you were there, you saw generally I had energy until the end of the evening when I'm like, okay, I'm really tired now. But it was really hard to keep up that energy. I'm kind of, in retrospect, looking back at it because of the months of preparation before that, and all of those loose little bits and the complicated things, it really drained my energy by the time the event came. So by the end of it, I was like, all right, I'm done. I want to do a conference anymore. But this is actually the time that we should, myself should be focused on, okay, I want to encourage people to go into my next program. I want to kind of push the people and really engage with everyone who has joined in the conference. But by the end of it, I was like, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. So I need a break. And so I ended up hiding the week after the conference. It was also my birthday week, and my husband had to take off for a week. So I really had to take that time just for myself, because I felt like I was running on fumes at the end of it, right? That's not what we want. You want to be able to, we're in this business building so that we can kind of have our own lives, right? We don't want our business to dictate and make us feel like we have to do things. If you're a freedom lover like myself, that's why you've chosen it. So I found that it was really, really complicated. Hi, I have a visitor right now. I'm recording, right? Okay. So that was kind of, on my end, I was just really, really tired by the end of it. Despite the fact that I had like almost 40 speakers, not everyone promoted. So there was a few speakers who, said that they would promote or say something. They didn't really do it. But that is actually normal. So it is a lesson learned, but I kind of knew that anyway. I was hoping there were some great speakers who were totally promoting, actively promoting. For that, I'm super thankful, because it is a partnership. When you're putting on a conference, you're doing a partnership. But the ones that I was kind of hoping, like they had bigger audiences, and I was like, oh, it'd be great if they would promote, didn't really promote. So that is a lesson learned. I know that in the other summits and conferences that I've done, it has been a similar experience. So you have to kind of factor that in. I tend to try to stay away from Facebook ads, mainly because it has been successful for me. I think one of the events that we did, I ran some ads and they did awesome. And I ran similar ads this time, but I think because of the change with the Apple, there's been some differences with how Apple allows tracking. I think that made a really big difference, and I did have ads running a little bit for this event just to see how it was, but I didn't find it was worth it. I really wanted to focus on encouraging my speakers to promote. So that being said, those were kind of like the not awesome things. Totally exhausted by the end. No more energy to really keep on going. The benefits, or some of the great things, as I reflect on this, was that I did do a lot of pre-recording. So that meant that when there was any tech issues, I could actually throw on a speaker if there was a tech issue. So there was one where the video wasn't working, and I was like, that's okay. I'll shift around the schedule really quick, put a different pre-recorded interview on, and that was good. So I'm really, really thankful for that. We had an event where we had a live speaker come on. This was last year. And her internet just did not work. And it was like, okay, well, what are we going to do, right? That's kind of one of the worst situations when you're thinking about putting on an event or going live in front of people. Okay, your internet doesn't work. And funny story about internet not working. So I guess this could also go into the lesson learned. We were having issues with the internet here in this house during the pre-recording session. So when I was doing a lot of the interviews, and I had this one interview with Eileen Wilder, and I love Eileen, and she's like way up here compared to me. If you look at different business women, you're like, oh my goodness, you're so awesome, right? That's Eileen to me. And so I got an interview with her. Normally she charges 4 figures to speak on people's stages, and she said yes to me for free to do this interview, but it could only be really short. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is so exciting. I'm so excited that Eileen's going to speak on my stage. This is going to I was I had a nightmare before this interview that everything went wrong. And everything not everything went wrong. It was still a fantastic interview, but my internet kept having issues. we have I guess the Wi-Fi signal. We actually got new internet, like a new service provider, and the internet was excellent. But because the router had to be positioned somewhere else in the house, it actually made it a lot weaker for where I'm situated. And I didn't really realize that until this interview with Eileen. And I was like, "Good, we have new internet. It's gonna be awesome." And it like kept cut out, probably like 5 or 6 times. It cut out, and I was like, ah. It's like one of the you have someone who you think like the world of, who's only giving you like a sliver of their time. You're super thankful. And she was really generous, really kind about it. But for me, it was like mortifying. I'm like, oh my goodness, she's never going to let me interview her again. And it just really sucked. But I was able to edit it and, make it work. But that was one of the kind of like not so great things. Now I have found a LAN cable and we have rigged it up that is directly going into the computer, because I forgot that you don't just need to work from Wi-Fi. You can have a direct connection to the internet. It's a really silly thing, but so direct connection to the internet is super, super awesome. Definitely have it if you're doing any live streaming or any recording with your people. So I learned that that's really important. So what are some awesome things? Okay, we have the pre-recording was awesome. Actually, the organization, I think I did quite well. The speakers that I had on board generally I think they were all really happy with the communication. And that's one thing I've learned about doing events and working with people is like make sure that you're really, really communicative, sending lots of emails. Another bad thing is a lot of my emails went to spam. I'm still working on that, trying to figure out like how I can get my open rates up, how I can try to get my emails to not end up in spam. So I'll be working on that, and when I figure out why everything keeps going to spam, I'll let you know. Some people are getting my emails, but I've found like a lot, even to the speakers who were corresponding with me, sometimes they just ended up in places they shouldn't be. So that was not so great, but the organization, I pre-wrote emails for speakers to promote. That made life a lot easier for them. I had my VAs create social media graphics, which was a super help for me. I love being able to hire things out and have people help me do things so that I have the energy to do other things. That's a really, really important thing if you want to grow your business, bring on more people, because you can't do it by yourself, right? We need community, and that's how God has created us. So my email list doubled, so that's pretty cool. Got a bunch of new email subscribers, and that was really the goal of this event, was to grow my list as well as profit. But you can keep selling to people after, right, when they're on your email list. And so the event is great to make money, but afterwards it continues being profitable, and that's the whole point of having a virtual event. So I grew that was awesome. And a lot of the speakers who agreed to speak were really amazing, like such amazing content. And if you were an attendee there, like it was a great like a high caliber of speakers walking through their frameworks, through marketing, clarifying messaging. So I thought that was really great too. I'm really thankful for a lot of them, and I learned a lot. I love events specifically, and podcasts, because I can really bring people onto a stage and connect with them. And I find that's like one of the best ways to really connect with like-minded women and network, is by having that stage that you can invite them on to. Because sometimes it's a little awkward. It's like, hey, you want to like have a coffee chat? That can work too. But if you can collaborate and like grow together, that's even better in my mind. So I love collaboration. I love creating stages and opportunities for businesses to grow together. And I think that happened in the event, in our conference too, at the Risen Messenger conference. A lot of people enjoyed it. We got a lot of comments on Facebook and emails about people just like having their world really shifted. And I talked a lot about that. The purpose of having like a virtual event is to create this momentum, to create inspiration, and also to have your trajectory changed. I believe that, when you create situations where people can interact with one another, where you can hear stories from people on a stage, that you can help shift people's trajectories in their life, right? I think it helps, it kind of opens up space for God to speak to other people's heart from your stage, because you're sharing stories and they're like, oh wow, yeah, I feel the same way. I had that same thing. And God's like, okay, I want you to believe bigger things. Just like she did. You can do the same thing, right? So I believe that these events, these stages can really shift trajectories. And that's really awesome. I love to see that kind of transformation happen. So I'm excited for the stories later on from the conference to see how people's businesses and their personal lives have developed. But it was a lot of fun to do. So those are kind of my lessons learned. If you want to take them and run, be less complicated. Don't be like me, simplify things. If you're going to do an event, just like either record everything or just maybe have a couple speakers. If it's not to grow your email list, having a couple of speakers is great. If you want to grow your email list, definitely more speakers is awesome. It does complicate things. It does cause you more having to communicate with people, but it will really grow your email list. It will really grow your audience and your visibility. So, but maybe either deciding on doing like all live or all recorded probably would simplify a lot of things, which would allow energy in other areas, right? Because complication, it kills it kills the energy, and so that's what I've learned as well. I don't know what I could really do about my VA quitting. She is really sweet, amazing. Just there was issues. So, having team members drop out on you, that's going to happen. We work with humans. We work with people. It gets messy and unexpected things happen. And if you are a mom with kids, then that happens also in your household, right? It happens in your family. The things just come up. It happens. And then you just have to deal with it. But I think that's kind of one strength of a woman, right? Is the ability to just run with it. Whatever life is thrown at you, you can run with it. You don't just sit there and cry and oh no, it's all right. No, you figure it out and be a problem solver. At least that's how I experience many of the problems in our life. Just kind of laugh it off and keep on going, right? So I hope that this has helped you. I hope that you would take this time at the end of the year, not just to strategize and think of all the things that you want to do and accomplish next year, but to take an Advent time and just to really stop and reflect, right? Sometimes it is a bit difficult to do that, because if you're anything like me, you're you want to accomplish and do things, right? But I think God has created these seasons in our life and seasons in general to help us to stop and to be and to think and to allow Him to minister to you, to give you vision, to be your leader, even though you're a leader. Let Him be your leader. And Advent is actually a time where we remember that the King will return, right? So not just there's the baby born in the manger. We remember Christmas. I remember, growing up, that was always Christmas time. It's the baby and nativity and all that stuff. But actually, Advent is a time to remember, okay, the King will come again, right? He's going to come as a king, and he's going to rule over everything. And I think this is a great time to remember in the Advent season that the King will come and rule your business, and rule it's not your domain. It's not your kingdom, it's His, right? And He's going to come again, and we can invite Him back into it if we've kind of deposed Him and pushed Him off of the throne, which we sometimes do, right? We're I think I know better. I think I'm going to do this, right? So Advent really gives us the time to stop and reflect, to stop and think about, okay, how can I bring the King back into my business? Where is He leading? All right, so I hope that this has helped you this year. I hope that this Advent time can really be a time of reflecting and stopping. And I'd love if you would comment below or wherever you're watching or listening to this, and let me know how you're reflecting on your business. And I'd love to hear some of your audacious goals for next year. What does God kind of placing on your heart to conquer and to conquer together with him next year. I'd love to hear that. So comment below. Let me know about it. If this has helped you at all, then like it, comment, share it. I would appreciate that so much. All right. Have a great day, guys. I will see you next time.